The Minnesota Vikings officially introduced Brian Flores as the new defensive coordinator. Him and Kevin O'Connell had their press conference. We have some takeaways. We'll get into those right after this. As we mentioned, Kevin O'Connell and new defensive coordinator Brian Flores had the introductory press conference officially announcing Flores as the new defensive coordinator. Obviously, it was just an introductory conference, not a ton to really take away from it, but there were a few little interesting tidbits.
Yep.
First off, he was still, as we all kind of figured, he was still in the running for the Arizona head coaching job when he decided to come here. Again, I see his thinking. Some people think, hey, it's a head coaching job, you got to take him, but I think he knows that he will be in the running for head coaching jobs in the future. And that job with Kyler Murray being out for the first bit of the year, might not be the best opportunity for him. So I think from that perspective, I get it. Go to a place like this. If you do anything with this defense, which it can't get much worse, anything better, it's going to look like it's going to look like you did a fantastic job with it, right? So, and then then he'll be in the running for other probably more suitable, more attractive head coaching options. So that's really the first thing I noticed is to think like he passed up a head coaching job to come here, work with Kevin O'Connell. They kind of talked about the history in New England and how just he kind of gravitated toward O'Connell's leadership. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Dude, yeah, that's super cool. It just shows a lot about KOC, man. That's not the first time we've heard that since he's been here, where someone comes talks to KOC and same with I would say the same exact thing with Kwesi too. Like it seems like a lot of people really like their personality, and I don't know. Flores had a lot of good things to say about KOC and just how like coming here, it was he had that gut feeling that it was the right move to do, even though he had a head coach position potentially available to him. So, it says a lot about KOC, but it's nice to know, like, someone has that option to be a head coach somewhere else, but they're just like, and especially someone with a pedigree that Flores has, and just decides like, I don't know, I'm liking what they're doing in Minnesota, and I want to be a part of that for at least this year. I know they went into asking him about like, oh, does he plan on leaving? I don't know if he gave a straight answer to like, does he plan on getting a head coach job next year? He was more of like that he is always wanting to help the coaches under him to become better, which of course is obviously good to know. I don't know what direction we'd go to. Obviously, it's way too early to talk about that. But yeah, man. It was good, and not just that, but just the one that hit me right away. Obviously, the big question, and I guess we'll just say this right away. The big question, everybody's mind. The reason why everybody even tuned into this was the 3-4-4-3,
and it took till the very end.
He said it, and then boom. All right, bye guys. That's literally how it went. And I sat there. I watched it live, but for whatever reason, my app like shut down or something right at the end, so I never heard it until people are telling me. But yeah, 100% sounds like we're gonna do a 3-4. But he said what did he say? He said 3-4.
Because they asked him, he said, "Who are we playing?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "It's going to be a lot of like matchup dependent and scheme. We'll scheme based on matchup, which is a good thing to hear actually."
Yeah.
He said, "But it's going to be a base 3-4, like the 3-4 defense, where it's all going to be based out of." But basically, what he's making it sound like he's not going to do what we tried to do last year with Donatell. We're trying to force these people to do something they're not comfortable with.
Exactly.
You're going to work towards kind of what obviously game planning is a big part of it. I feel like there wasn't enough of that last year. With this year, it sounds like his thing is
that a lot in that presser.
Like his thing is, here's where we're starting 3-4, but we're going to work off of that based on who we play, which is
huge. Who we play, and then probably and who we have for players and who our talent is and what they do best, which is obviously really good to hear, especially with some of these players that we've been talking about, like the Danielle Hunters, the Harrison Smiths, guys like that. Because of course, now we know for a fact we're going to be a 3-4. So that brings up the question again with Danielle Hunter, who didn't, don't get me wrong, he still succeeded last year, 10.5 sacks or whatever. But, we know that you want to put his hands in the dirt, and hopefully Flores comes in here and knows that for sure. I just feel like some of these players had to be a selling point for Flores. And I just can't imagine Danielle Hunter wasn't on top of that list, in my opinion. But that was another thing about that was excited me, and you'll see in the thumbnail is just him coming in and saying he's aggressive.
Mhm.
KOC talked about, they want to be an aggressive style team. He even mentioned, like, on offense, we're going to be, I want to be aggressive. I want our whole team to kind of be in line with our play style, which KOC, which is true. But last year, our defense was not aggressive at
And
all.
our
It was
offense
like,
at certain points wasn't
and
tough.
our offense in the middle of the games, our offense was. KOC did take a couple shots of like fourth downs and stuff, which is a little bit more aggressive, which I like to see. Nothing like Dan Campbell, but I think I love Dan Campbell's coaching style, but it is hard to, I think, win consistently like that. But yeah, so I mean, that's just good to hear him saying like he's aggressive. They asked him that, and he says, I'm aggressive by nature, because they asked like, oh, in Miami, was it just like a situational thing, or is that just that's just your play style and how you like to run your defense? And he's pretty much, that's how he wants to run his defense,
Right.
which is exactly what we all want to hear from coming in from last season. Because of course we want the opposite of what we've seen since that didn't work.
Yeah. And then again, he brought up the fact of who he's worked with. And I know Kevin O'Connell mentioned that too. He's had the chance in his career to coach under Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. So he said he was learned a lot from those guys. Listening to him talk, he kind of had a lot of Bill Belichick in him, where he took a lot of pauses, a lot of ums when he was thinking. Like, it felt like I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, who does this remind me of? And like, the more I listen to him talk, I'm like, it's very Belichickian, a little more emotion, a little more, smiling and stuff that Belichick would do.
Laughing.
But it felt very Belichickian, I thought, just the way that he was talking.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, and it was hilarious when you brought up the gritty thing. Like, his kids wanted him to come to Minnesota, and as soon as they found out, there's just doing gritties in the living room or whatever. Always good.
Now the new thing, because he said he has his own version, he doesn't want to show people. Now the new thing is when we make an NFC Championship game, him and Kevin O'Connell are both gonna have to do it. So they just locked themselves into that.
Yep. Once we win a Super Bowl too.
Right. But yeah, otherwise, a lot of it was about just how important it is to tie together all three phases of the game, not just on the field, but off the field on a personal level. I mean, obviously, a lot of the words we've been hearing for the last year now, exactly a year, I think Kevin O'Connell said, to the day that he was hired. Collaboration, camaraderie, being a team, not, nothing. I mean, yeah, you're going to care about your individual stats, but also at the end of the day, it's all about the team winning and how to put yourself in the best spots. And it sounds like he ties right in with all of that as well. And that's the first thing he noticed, as we all know, when he came here with Kevin O'Connell. That's where his focus was. Just what can I do?
A Super Bowl, man.
Exactly. It's all about camaraderie and team building, which we knew. So it sounds like he's right in line with everything we need. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to know.
Yeah,
Kevin O'Connell mentioned that he was,
man. I want that aggressive defense. That was just annoying last year, especially when we kind of used to a little bit more aggressiveness on defense, I guess. But knowing we have someone who's like specializes in that, it's going to be a whole 360, 100%. Just hopefully, we have the players, the right players to make his system work.
And now that's the next part.
Right, of course.
What do you do? Because obviously he also said, we have a good foundation here, but there's going to be draft picks, there's going to be new players. So I mean, obviously, I think he's kind of and we all knew this roster is not going to be the same going into next season. So yeah, and now the real fun starts. Now all that's out of the way. Now it's draft prep and free agency, and then the draft. So there's a lot to work on here, and it's just the start of what we got going on this defense. But outside of that, wasn't a lot of other things to take away from it, just kind of baseline stuff. But the biggest thing was just how he aligns with the values of the team. And
aggressive play style,
aggressive 3-4. I mean, obviously you can't be aggressive all the time. You do need to pick your spots at points, but
which he also mentioned that as well.
Exactly. Yep. Just like you gotta, you really do need to pick your spots. But I'm excited. Any other thoughts?
I think that's good, man. I think we got our defensive coordinator. It's going to look a lot different next year, I think, on that side of the ball. So
let's hope so. I know you love it. I love it. We want to know if you guys love it. Let us know it down in the comment section. Your reaction to his press conference, what you think of the hire, and we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.